Whoa, Elle, brave of you to show your face after you made your daughter cry on national TV.
Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show with Gary Stridsky, presented by AT&T. We love our AT&T friends. Yeah, we were at College Game Day,
Yeah, you
our
were.
last one of the season in Greenville. By the way, love that little town. That's a cute town, Gare Bear.
Greenville's on and popping.
I mean, it's cute. Like
Hmm.
I've been to a lot of like big little cities. I would consider Greenville a big little city, right? It's not a
Yes.
major city, but it's like it's got a vibe. And man, I think that one's probably leading the pack. It's just they have like a bustling downtown. And like a lot of places will have like a little downtown with a handful of restaurants. You can walk through the whole thing in 5 or 10 minutes. Greenville has like a lot. It was actually the perfect trip to bring Eva to because there was so much to do, and I was intentional about wanting to bring her during International, Women's Day and Women's Month because I want my daughter to see, the sacrifices that I make spending time with her because I get to like live this dream and have this passion, and I'm hoping it'll inspire her. But the thing with Eva is, and I discovered this last year in real time, I've known it, but my daughter has a thing with loud noises, and a lot of little kids do. She doesn't have a ton of fears. I mean, she's fearless. She's Spider-Man. She'll climb to the top of a building confidently, but loud noises just freak her the out. And so she spots a balloon because this archerist, what's supposed to happen is the archerist is going to pop the balloon with her feet. Okay. And it's going
Okay.
to reveal that Chennai is going against the crowd and me, Andrea, and picking Texas to win the SEC championship. It's gonna be this whole thing.
Oh, that
Eva sees,
backfired.
yeah, Eva sees the balloon. She sees the arrow. She puts two and two together, and she immediately goes like this. And I was
Oh,
like,
she's preemptively about
she's
to cry. Brace
preemptively
herself.
upset because she knows balloons, loud noises, like she does not like balloons. 4th of July is not our favorite holiday.
Interesting.
So I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you're just gonna pick South Carolina and you have your headphones on, babe. You're not gonna hear
Yeah,
it. Like,
I
it's gonna
saw
be
it. She had
okay.
the headphones, all
It's gonna
that.
be okay. You're gonna be fine. And so she confidently makes her South Carolina pick. And then it's almost like, she showed up, she did what she had to do for the show, which was like do her part and say, I pick South Carolina. And it was so cute. The crowd goes crazy. She's cheesing. And then she went right back to focusing on that balloon. And
Oh
that
no.
balloon free and she just preemptively lost it, and like her dad, my husband's like texting me after the show, like, oh man. Is she okay? Because I watched her have a full-blown meltdown. I was like, she just
Wow.
was freaked out about the balloon. But anyway, it was a great trip, but more importantly, it was a great reminder of who the South Carolina is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is our last episode before Selection Sunday, and what an emphatic statement for South Carolina to make. They say, "Is this your king?" They take the number one overall seed, Texas, and they just spanked him. I mean, it was an absolute dismantling of a very good Texas team, by the
Hmm.
way. Like, this does not mean they're Schadenfreude. This doesn't mean that Texas is not deserving of the number one overall seed well, I don't think they're going to get number one overall seed. We'll get to that in a minute, but they're still going to get a one seed. That's at least
Yeah.
according to our bracketologist, Charlie Cream. But man, South Carolina, I think, reminded everyone, a South Carolina team that people have been saying, I don't know, they've lost a few games. That's very on South Carolina like. And yeah, three losses in the season, and people wanted to start putting dirt on it. And I think this was a reminder of the
Which
fact
you
that South
sort of
Carolina's team.
talked about, and that's what Don was sort of mentioning, and even Cream, sort of writing up in his, final 16 or your first overall first seed projections was like late season losses for a team like this to kind of get them clicking and going, so that way there's no pressure of like this undefeated sort of aura hanging above them. You know what I'm saying? Sort of keeping the championship goal as the overall arching goal and not all of the side quest stuff. So that was interesting. We did get a little shakeup of the projected top four seeds
Okay,
in Texas,
share.
in USC,
Hmm.
um, in
UCLA.
UCLA as well, getting off the mat against the Trojans. I think it's hard. You were there, obviously, the SEC tournament, but it's impossible to beat a team three times in a season. So that's what USC was up against.
I
right?
mean,
That's
not
what JuJu is
impossible.
up here.
TCU did it to Baylor to win
Well,
the
I
Big
guess
12
I guess you're
championship,
right.
right?
In route to their Big 12 championship, but like that's what
But
kind
it's
of
really
stood.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what stood out to me was, and we touched on it. Like if Juju's not going, USC's in trouble. She took 28 shots, hit nine of them in that Big Ten championship. They went dry scoring. Did you not see that as an issue?
Well, I mean, I think that's probably the same thing that people feel like is an issue for Texas, and that's exactly what we saw in the SEC championship with Maddie Booker, who is like
Yeah,
everything runs through Maddie, and if a team focuses in on her like South Carolina did and makes her day very, very long, I mean, she got her first bucket with like a handful of minutes left in the first half.
yeah,
It was the lowest scoring half that we had ever seen from a number one overall seed in a tournament championship in the last decade. Like South
yeah.
Carolina's defense, that's what people have to remember is that for a good stretch of those years, when we would see these undefeated South Carolina teams, the Aaliyah Boston teams, people would go, well, we know their defense is going to be great. A Dawn
Yeah.
Staley defense is like renowned, right? But it was always the question of could they get enough offense? Well, now South Carolina over the last couple of years, that's not been a question, right? They're getting the offense. They lead the SEC in scoring as well.
Hmm.
So this is truly the best team in terms of all around all of their players can play defense, like all
Yeah.
of them can get a bucket. And I think that's what makes South Carolina so scary right now. Like I'm being asked right now, what's my market boost, my future boost that I'm going to do for ESPN bet for the national championship. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm being a prisoner of the moment right now, but based on what I just saw, like how can you not say that it's South Carolina, you know? After what we've seen, and in particular, like who we're seeing it from, Chloe Kitts having career,
Yeah.
games, triple doubles, gets the tournament MVP. Sanaya Fagan is like killing it. They score more points off the bench than their starters do. Like it's how can you bet against that, Gare?
So that's who you're pulling. I mean, listen, we're Selection Sunday still forthcoming. Are you ready to ride the South Carolina train all the way to another title or no?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm picking for my future boost. Like,
Okay.
listen, of course, all of these things, and the reason that you do these future markets even before you get to Selection Sunday is because the odds are greater before you see the path, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so it all depends on South Carolina's path, of course. It all depends on any of their paths at this
Yeah.
point, right? Like, same thing with the luck of, Iowa and LSU having to face each other last year in
Hmm.
the Elite Eight. Like, it really just depends on their path. But based on what I've seen from the top seven teams that have remained for the most part all year in that same area, I feel like very concerned about Notre Dame. We'll get into that in a minute, right? Like I
Yeah,
feel,
definitely. Their big three, their backcourt's gone dry. Where's the
they're
scoring?
having a really tough time, and more importantly, not playing defense. But like UConn is super strong. They just won the Big East as expected.
Yeah.
That's what they do. I think it's their sixth, seventh straight Big East championship. Like that's a thing they're supposed to do. I feel really good about UConn. I do, but like based on level of competition, who's contributing, and again, the idea that they've got two starting fives. Nobody else has two starting fives. And when you're talking about a tournament run,
Yeah.
being able to get as many or more points off the bench than from the starters is such an advantage in a tournament type of play.
That's why at this point, now that we're going to have the field unveiled on Sunday, you need a team that can win six straight games. That's all you need. So wait, when you say two starting fives, you're mentioning South Carolina. Are you also throwing UConn in that mix?
No,
Oh, okay. It's just South Carolina.
no, that's what I'm saying. South Carolina is the only team in
Okay.
D1 that has more bench points, that their leading scores come off the bench. They're the only one.
Yeah.
I mean, that like I don't even need research for that one, Gary. They are the only ones that have two proper
Sure.
starting fives. Malaysia Fulwiley comes off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like Chloe
Which,
Kidd Sanaya Fagan comes off the bench, like, or she's starting now. She was coming off the bench. It's wild.
which by the
Royce
way,
Edwards comes off the bench. Like these are all Americans that are coming off the bench.
which by the way makes what Kim Mulkey said a couple of weeks ago when we were like, yo, is this shade or is she just like heaping praise about, yo, they got ten McDonald's All-Americans. They have two starting five rotations. It just gives more credibility to that statement now that we're seeing it right as we're about to enter tournament play.
Like
Elle is high on South Carolina. We get, hey,
who are you high on? based on what you saw.
Elle, I'm a prisoner of the moment, and you know that I can be persuaded quickly. I like UConn. Paige Bueckers has something to prove. I think that the offense goes through her, and I think that she's an efficient scorer, as we saw in the Big Ten. I'm sorry, the Big East championship against Creighton. Who, yeah, Creighton, they've never beat UConn. They're 0-11 all time, against them. But Paige took like 14 shots, scored 20 something points.
So
Uh,
efficient.
is very efficient. She obviously, handful of assists here and there, but like Sarah Strong got in on the action, freshman, AZ Fudd. She was in double digit scoring. So much less like the comp that I'm going to use here, which I've been sort of tugging at this thread the last couple of weeks, where as JuJu goes, USC goes, and she takes about 50% of the shots for the Trojans, does JuJu Watkins. Paige Bueckers gets about the same amount of scoring output on about half of the amount of field goal attempts. So she doesn't shoot UConn out of games. If she's not having it, you have auxiliary pieces on that team. And that's just a team that's championship built, much like Don Staley's is too. Like once March happens, once you get past championship weekend, UConn is just a team that knows how to win late into March, into early April. So I don't see any reason. They've won 10 straight games. I think them and TCU are riding the nation's longest win streaks going into a tournament out of the Power Five. So there's nothing that I've seen lately that is taking me away from picking UConn to make a super deep run.
I'm with you. You know how we like being in TV, we're always sort of saying like what would be the ratings bonanza Final Four? Like what would that
Oh,
look like, right? Like what would be a Final Four that would be like
yeah.
must see TV in terms of market, right? Like power of name.
Yeah.
And then to me personally, like style of play too, right? Because like Texas is a huge market, right?
Yeah.
Tech, like the University of Texas is, especially in the sports world, huge market, SEC, all of that. But a Vic Schaefer plan, as Kim Mulkey said when they were playing them in the semis, is like they want to make it as ugly as possible. Like a
Yeah.
very ugly, low scoring, nasty, muck it up game is
Yeah.
exactly where Texas wants you. So it's not exactly like beautiful basketball, right?
Correct.
Because like they're Maddie Booker is beautiful to watch. She really does. I'll have a lot of Kevin Durant in her. They did a side by side sort of comparison during the game broadcast of just their shot and their mid range game
Yeah.
and how they play, and they're very similar. Um, so she's amazing to watch, but like that wouldn't necessarily be like beautiful basketball. And I think a lot of us had decided when we were at game day and we sort of laid this out in terms of those three metrics. We have no dog in this fight. All I want is good basketball. I don't care. I love upsets and all that. So please, those of you listening, don't say this is me, hoping for this. This is just
UConn, South Carolina. Is that what?
well, the Final Four, UConn, in no particular order, not necessarily facing each other in the Final Four, but the Final Four teams we think that would pull the biggest ratings with name recognition, market, and also would be good basketball to watch, like
Yeah.
enjoyable. South Carolina,
Correct.
UConn.
Correct. Hold on. Let me
If
guess the next two.
okay,
And this is just assuming that they're
come
not going to.
on, you got
Well,
like
well, no, I'm just
who's
assuming.
the
I'm
face of
saying
women's basketball right now, apart from Paige?
USC. Okay. Well, then there's going to be an odd man out. There's going to be a
So who's
UC.
that for? That's the interesting one because
Well,
I
I was
mean
going to say, yeah,
it's
there's an
easy. JuJu Watkins is ratings bonanza, but
correct.
who's that fourth one?
And that's what I was going to say. There's going to be an odd man out if you're talking about like a projected number one overall seed prior to the SEC championship game loss in Texas, or UCLA just won the Big Ten title, or I mean, if you're really talking ratings bonanza, like Kara Lawson and Duke, like cracking into winning the conference for the first time. No, okay, so take them away. I would say either Texas, UCLA, or Notre Dame. Is that a cop out? Am I missing
Ding, ding,
somebody?
ding, ding, ding.
Notre
If
Dame.
Notre Dame can figure their out,
Okay.
they are a really fun team to watch.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
they move with pace. Like I'm talking about again when we talk about market, like Notre
Yeah.
Dame is Notre Dame.
Sure.
When it comes to sports, it's a pretty big name, right? But then just in terms of the basketball you would watch, because when they are playing defense, when like there is a reason that they were the number one overall seed at one point, that they were the
Yeah.
number one AP ranked team. They've had a slide since. They've lost three of their last five, and I get that. Like they are gone completely cold and are not playing defense
Yeah.
at the worst possible time. But I would not chicken little like panic, panic, panic because when they're in sync and they're playing basket, like they are very, very fun to watch. You know, Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, they've got great guard plays. People
Yeah.
love guards. And you know, and the steals with Hannah Hidalgo and like all of that is so freaking fun to watch. They run at like a really furious pace. It's almost frenetic, and really enjoy that. So I think that would be
So you're going very guard. You're going a very guard heavy
I'm
final.
just no, I'm just going like style of play, like
Yeah.
watching a USC team that likes to run versus a Notre Dame. Like think about
Yeah.
those, the matchup of those guards. And yes, people in general like the matchup of guards. Let's just be honest with this, right? Like last year it was sold on Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers in the Final Four. Like people
Hmm.
love good guard play, but I think that would be. But I tell you what, like NC State, people are going to be quiet on them now because they lost in the ACC championship to Duke. But NC State's also rounding into form at the right time. I mean, they really are.
Hmm.
And so I wouldn't be too panicked about what happened. They again went cold. None of their guards, other than Zoe, was really making much happen. Isaiah got hurt for a little bit. I wouldn't panic on them. I don't know that I picked them as a Final Four team again, like I did last year, but I could definitely see an Elite Eight run.
El, this is shaping up to sound like you're about to make a guarantee.
And now it's time for the guarantee presented by AT&T. So Dawn joined the desk after they won the semifinal,
El, she's
and
running out of space on both her neck and wrist.
for
Listen,
jewelry.
the
This
people need
ain't
to
even
stop,
half
and
my
we appreciate
jewelry.
because Dawn is for the children,
Gary,
but she has no more real estate on the wrist.
Gary, Gucci said it famously.
What do you say?
Never too much, so much jewelry. This ain't even
Correct.
half my jewelry. Remember that?
No
Never
L,
said
no
the
L,
L.
just
He only
jewelry.
said jury, but
Yep.
that's
Hmm.
Gucci, man. So she joined the desk, and I had this stat that basically was like, you know, she's led by at least 20 points in like 20 of their 36 games, right?
Okay.
And I basically said that, and I said, like, how do you keep your team so locked in and focused in a game when they go out to these big leads, you know? And she took the opportunity to basically say like don't let that stat fool you into thinking we're not playing anyone, right? And I of
Okay.
course did not mean it that way. I just was more amazed at the fact that like her team, you know, has these big leads in these games considering they play really tough opponents.
Yeah.
And she took the opportunity to basically say to the committee, like, don't get it twisted. Like we have the toughest schedule. We're playing in the SEC. We purposely schedule really you know, big matchups. We
Yeah.
purposely scheduled UCLA because we want to get the number one seed. Like that's what we do when we put our schedule out. And Charlie Cream joined the show a few minutes later and was like, Dawn, no matter what happens in the SEC championship, you have locked in a one seed and you are good to go. So my guarantee is that not only is South Carolina good to go to be a one seed, I think they will be the number one overall seed on Sunday when we announce the tournament bracket.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Based off strength of schedule, recency, all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, UCLA,
Knocking
I
off
think
Texas, I guess
UCLA
it makes sense.
flip-flopped with USC.
Yeah.
I think USC could have made a legitimate run for that number one overall seed, right?
Yeah.
Because they beat UCLA 3 times. If they would have, it would have been them beating UCLA 3 times, a team
Yeah.
that beat South Carolina. So I think the committee would have put USC at the one seed, South Carolina, you know, right behind them at number
Yeah.
two as a one seed, and then it would have been probably Texas and the UCLA. But I think it will probably be, in my mind, my guarantee, South Carolina, UCLA,
Okay.
Texas. No,
Texas.
no, no, no. It's no, you know what?
Are you about to
Addendum.
leave UConn out of this?
No. I
Okay.
I don't know that I don't know. Charlie Cream does not think that UConn is going
Actually,
because
no,
think about it. UConn
UConn
lost
grades
to
as a 2 seed.
USC. They
UConn grades
lost
as
to
a 2 seed.
Tennessee,
You're
right?
right, you're right.
Like,
UConn grades as a 2 seed. Texas goes to 4, and USC goes 3.
yeah,
This is your guarantee, though. This is your guarantee.
that's what I
I'm gonna
think. I
step
think
aside.
it'll be yeah, I think it'll be South Carolina, UCLA, USC, and then Texas.
Lock it up. Throw away the key. Are you going to any of the regionals?
No, we will be posted up in the studio,
Okay,
holding it down myself, Dre, and Chanae, and then we'll head
cool.
to Tampa after after the Elite Eight, we'll head to Tampa on April 1st.
Do me a
And back
favor.
on April 6th. Yeah.
Between now and then, tell Drea to learn whatever that dance was. She doesn't strike me as somebody who backs away from the limelight, from the pressure. She just needs to get into the lab and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Don't even lie. You weren't listening to nothing in those headphones, by the way.
I
If y'all don't know
was.
what we're talking about, Elle was vibing, TikTok trend. Chanae hit that thing in step.
She really did.
She
I
really
was
did.
shocked because I didn't, obviously didn't see her. So we went back and watched it. I was like, Nay,
She hit that.
you nailed it.
She hit it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she hit
And
it
Drea
hard.
saw it like she was not supposed to even be in the content. I was like, oh, oh,
So listen, full disclosure, that was very much about our personalities. Like me and Chanae will
definitely.
dance all over a video, and Drea's just like, that's not my thing, But she's also
Correct.
such a great sport. So we were just trying to show our personalities, which is that I'm gonna always wow out, and then
Hmm.
Chanae's always gonna meet me where I'm at. And Drea is gonna be like, y'all can have that.
She's the parent. Yeah. Drea's the parent.
Y'all got that. She's the responsible one,
That's correct.
She's the mature one.
That's correct.
Yeah, we're bouncing off the wall. Someone's got to keep us anchored and level. I do want to, before we get out of here very quickly though, say one thing. It it's very it's few and far between at this point that I squeal at an announcement of some kind of sporting thing. Because luckily we've been in sports for so long. We've seen some really cool events. I've been to Super Bowls. This is not sounding humble at all, but you get what I'm saying, Gary.
Correct.
There's very few things that get me like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
And
And
that
I'm,
was F1 Miami last year.
yes, it was so exciting. It was. He's not wrong. I did not go into it with that expectation. I was like, it's going to be probably, I don't like snobby. It's going to be so snobby. It
It
wasn't.
was
It
lit.
was great.
It was
I
lit.
loved it. And then I went to two last year. It was amazing.
Come on.
Haven't had the invite back to Miami though. So maybe I
Damn, that's
fluffed
right
that
around
up.
the corner too. That's what I was about to ask you. I was trying to segue into you telling us like, "Yo, Gary, we going back."
No,
I'll do
no.
some digging on the back end.
With all due respect to F1, I've seen it. It's great. I had a great time. And if it was only a hit it and quit it one night stand, I'm fine with that. It was great.
Oh, sometimes those are your best memories.
I'm so excited for the announcement of the battle for the real SC. South Carolina and USC announcing yesterday that they're going to do a 2-year matchup agreement where they'll play in 2025 in November 15th, 2025 at Crypto.
Like
And then
that's in 10 months, not 10 months.
yes,
That's in eight
yes,
months.
8 months at Crypto, and then they'll play the following year, same date at Bon Secours Wellness Arena, which, by the way, is 100% a South Carolina home crowd. I mean, I
Correct.
get it. I know some of the other schools complain because they're like, this is unfair, but whatever. I mean, it is. It is a huge contingent of South
Hmm.
Carolina fans. Of course, Columbia is like an hour and a half up the road. So it's going to be so incredible for the battle of who's the real. And it's always funny too when you talk about SC because you'll say SC and people will be like, I love JuJu. I'm like, oh, I'm at South Carolina. And you can't say
Ooh,
USC, right? You can't say like University of South Carolina, USC, because people automatically assume the University of Southern California, but nobody says the University of Southern California. So I
correct.
love that they're like, we get it. We get it. We're gonna battle it out to see who's the real SC. And
Okay,
this is
all I'm
gonna be
saying right
huge.
now is I'm for 2 points. I'm glad that they're like, yo, this is going down this year because a lot of times these rivalry games, they announce them and they're like coming to you in 2044. And we're
Right.
like, what? That's in
Yeah,
20 years. Wait, what? Let me
they
know in
do.
2043. So this is popping in 8 months, which is dope. I will say right now, Elle, I don't know that you'll agree with me, but USC has the same kind of lead on SC that Skype had on Zoom. 20 years, 30 years. You say USC or you say SC, immediately you're thinking Reggie Bush, Cheryl Miller, Trojans, out west, boom. Only if you're locking in to the women's game probably in the last decade, you think SC and you have to stop and be like, wait, what are they talking about? So
Yeah.
all I'm saying right now is South Carolina is playing from a deficit.
Okay.
I'm not saying they can't come back, climb out of this hole and claim the crown, but there's no reclaiming of this crown because right now the crown resides in South Central or wherever it's at, Southern California. Are we on the same page there?
I mean, I hear you. I think honestly, I am of the understanding that like I've always said that because I'm also from Georgia, right? Like we face South Carolina,
Uh,
like it's an SEC school. SC has always been South Carolina. USC has always
yeah.
been the University of Southern California. So
Hmm.
like I would never call South Carolina USC ever. Ever.
Correct, but
So that's
but
why they're sort of saying the battle for now. Maybe
SC.
people, I'm sure people in the Pac-12, I mean, it's now the Big Ten, but previous in the Pac-12, or people that grew up in California, they probably just call it SC, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know that they call it USC. I'm not really sure. I know colloquially from the South, you say SC, nobody's thinking of the Trojans.
Yeah. I can't wait for us to take SportsCenter on the road and call it
Hell yeah.
SC from SC versus SC.
Can't wait. Before that, we got a lot more to get to. So we'll see you after Selection Sunday next Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching the Elle Duncan Show presented by AT&T. Gare Bear, have a great weekend and weekend. It's Tuesday. Good
We
God.
will SC you later.